Good evening. My name is Kerwin Pittman. Spelling of my name is Kerwin.
That's going to get us the win.
Win Pittman, Pittman. I'm a community advocate, community activist here in the city of Raleigh, as well as the executive director of Recidivism Reduction Educational Program Services. Once again, we stand here at the hands of Raleigh Police Department and the excessive force, brutality that seems to continuously be left in their wake. We as a community, as citizens of Raleigh, as taxpayers, will not continue to remain silent when it is a continuous tsunami of brutality pounding upon the very people that the Raleigh Police Department are sworn to protect and serve. Yet, when we have a broken criminal justice system in our midst, who do we depend on to protect us from those who have sworn to protect us? The brutality that was inflicted upon Mr. Raleigh Batista Concepcion was completely, unethically, excessive, and I am in complete disgust of these officers' conducts, regardless of the alleged offenses that he may or may not have committed. That kind of activity was unwarranted. Was this kind of beating justifiable for a man who did not strike out against the officers at all? Did he deserve to be choked out, unconscious, face down in a pool of his blood from a wound in his head? Did he deserve to be kneed and choked when he was being apprehensive because he was struck before he was even pulled from the vehicle? It is past due time for Raleigh Police Department to be held accountable for their continuous unjust deeds. Regardless of what may have occurred, the force that was used against Mr. Batista was unjustifiable and extremely excessive. And this type of action from Raleigh Police Department or any other law enforcement will not be tolerated. Regardless. Therefore, we are demanding the following from Raleigh Police Department: swift transparency throughout this investigation and a clear understanding of what's going on with this investigation at all times. For all charges against Mr. Batista to be dropped. For all Raleigh police officers to undergo de-escalation training. All officers to undergo de-escalation training. And racial equity training as well. For Raleigh Police Department Chief of Police Cassandra Deck Brown to begin to hold her officers accountable, or please step down. Please step to the side, Cassandra Deck Brown, if you will not hold your officers accountable for their unjust deeds. Therefore, from Raleigh's City Council, we demand the following: the creation of an effective police oversight board. It is time that we no longer continue to let those who have violated us continue to investigate their own people. For the ones who employed Cassandra Deck Brown, the city of Raleigh, essentially the city council, to hold her accountable for her unjust deeds, for the actions that take place that her officers commit against the citizens. We as a community, we as a city, we as a country cannot remain silent while our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our families are slaughtered at the hands of law enforcement. And this type of brutality continues to plague our citizens, our city, our country. Regardless of any alleged offense, the actions that was taken against Mr. Batista was totally excessive and totally unwarranted and totally unbecoming of an officer of the law who is trained, who should be trained.
Rolanda Byrd, Rolanda Byrd, Executive Director of Raleigh PACT. Here we are again, January 2020, still coming to you with another case of police use of force. Thank you, God, this time it wasn't deadly. This is another example of why it's important for our city to create the Community Oversight Board with investigatory, disciplinary, and subpoena power that we've been asking for our elected officials for the last 4 years. Thank goodness there were witnesses with this young man this time who were not afraid to record and have an actual video of what took place. I encourage every community member to continue to be there to help protect each other, because who knows, if this video wasn't available, then how this story would have ended. Thanks to the young people who protected this young man by recording this incident. And please continue to do so. My hope is that our city is watching this as close as we are. And after this last 6 meetings that we had around the city about whether or not we should create this community oversight board, that they're seeing these things happening still every day in this community, and how we're going to be here every time to stand with these young people, to stand with whomever comes across this type of treatment from our police department. We will not stand for it. They do not give the last judgment of what happens to these people, to our people. The court system is supposed to punish them, not our police department. So those people who had any doubt or any question about whether or not we should have a community oversight board here in Raleigh so the police department will not be policing themselves, this is another example of why we should. And we will not stop until we're able to protect our young people. We won't stop. We'll be there every time. We'll ask for we'll give these demands every time until something is done. Because we do not deserve this. We are not animals. You are not the judge, jury, or executioner of our people. We can consider you a gang. Raleigh, the police department is considered a gang to us. Even though they say one bad apple doesn't spoil the bunch, well, guess what? We're coming up in a basket of bad apples at this point. We have a basket full of police department bad apples. There were different tactics this officer could have used to pursue this young man, to get him out of the car. He did not have to put his hands on him. He did not have to put his knee in his side. He did not have to make his face look the way it does today. He has paid for by the city, by the people of Raleigh, the city community members, tax paid equipment, taser, that he could use to pursue this man, to subdue this young man, to arrest him. He was forcibly removed from his car. It was clear, and it has to stop. As parents keep coming to these things, trying to protect our sons, luckily this young man is still alive today, because it could have been worse. My son is not here today because of Raleigh Police Department. But I'm going to continue to stand with these young men that are treated like this until a change is happening here in Raleigh. We need policy change, police reform, laws change, and we need to protect each other. Please continue to stand together and record these videos, because you are allowed to, as long as you're not disturbing what's going on with the situation between the police and the victim, or I call him a victim, they call him a suspect. So that's all I have today, and what Kerwin Pittman said, we will not stop until we get the demands that we've set forth to you today. Thank you.
Therefore, to the city of Raleigh, Raleigh City Council, the mayor of the city, we ask that you do not remain silent. It is time to speak up. It is time to stand for your citizens against police brutality. Thank you for showing up. Essentially, when anybody is struck, meaning physically assaulted, they're going to be a little apprehensive when somebody's asking them to do something afterwards. And this was just a case of that incident. He was struck initially, and he was apprehensive to follow the commands after that. And I really don't fault him, because now you don't know what's going on. In light of the country, around the country, the killings and police brutalities that's taking place, you really don't know what's about to happen. So essentially what is happening is our community are scared. So how do you expect someone who's scared, who's fearing for their life, to respond? Especially when you don't employ de-escalation training and tactics.
Apparently Raleigh police is saying that the commands were given and then the use of force. So we're saying that the use of force happened and then the commands were given?
From my understanding, the commands was given, but in the way they was given was in a threatening manner. His disposition was threatening. And so, like I said, the community is fearful. And so if you do not employ your de-escalation training, or you are not trained in de-escalating a situation, things like this will occur. You will have citizens who is already afraid and apprehensive of you, will not be more than willing and kind of shaky to follow your commands. But yet, in a sense, even though he didn't follow the commands initially, do that justify and warrant for him to be beaten like that? For him to be choked unconsciously? If you view the video, this man was choked out and came back to asking what happened, in a pool of blood from a wound in his head. Was that not excessive? Could other tactics not been employed to stop this type of action from happening? From kneeing a man who was essentially sitting down in a car when it's two officers, from punching him in the back and the side, from asking him to roll over and kneeing him in his back, essentially when he's unconsciously choked out. The force was excessive.
We've got a new mayor in Raleigh. Is there some change that you think might take place now in terms of demands for this?
You want to answer that?
I haven't had the opportunity to meet Miss Baldwin as of yet, but from what research I have done, I don't think that she is on board with having such a oversight board. Maybe something a little less than what we've been asking for, but anything less than what we've been asking for will not have the teeth or the power that we want to uphold what's going on in our communities. And to get back to the question that you had, sir, this young man, I'm sure, has been in Raleigh for some time now. And over the it's been 4 years since the death of Akil Jenkins, coming up next month. Since his death, there's been 4 other deaths in the hands of RPD. A couple weren't use of force deaths, but still in the hands of RPD nonetheless. There was 2 others, including this young man, that did survive the brutality of police here in Raleigh. Mr. Frederick Hall, Mr. Kyron Hinton, and this young man. Raleigh is afraid at this point to even come in any kind of contact with the police department because of these things that keep occurring. Now they want us to bow down and listen to their demands. They want us to jump to their rude ways of telling us how to get out of our car. They don't respect us enough to give us the same treatment that they may give someone on the north side of town. So my answer to you when you ask questions to that concern is, where's the concern for how we feel about what's going on in our community? Where's the concern on how they should approach us at this point? Because they're still killing us. They're still abusing us. Where's the concern when parents have to come out here and speak for their children because they're getting treated this way when we're not around? We can't beat our own children or we're going to go to jail. But you can beat them whenever you feel the need to. How fair is that? If you gave us the authority to do what we ain't supposed to do, instead of you being that person, maybe they wouldn't be doing the things that you think they shouldn't be doing. But yet y'all took that away from us as well. So when you come to us asking those questions, remember that these are parents out here. We are human beings as well. We have feelings about what's going on with our children. They want respect. We demand respect as well.
That's right. Let me say this. Let me say
What
this.
about the charges that Raleigh police is charging him with drug possession, and some other charges, hit and run? How do you square that with what you're on?
As far as the excessive force, it doesn't matter what essentially he was charged with. You could charge somebody with anything. A charge is meaning something they just charge you with. It don't mean you actually essentially done it.
Or have been convicted.
Been convicted of it. You are innocent until proven guilty. And so in our society, once somebody is charged with something, we automatically assume their guilt. But regardless, if he was or wasn't, the excessive force wasn't warranted. This is my issue that I have. The excessive force was not warranted. I get numerous phone calls, pictures sent to me, videos of interaction with law enforcement, Raleigh Police Department, to be specific, of wounds that people are sustaining at the hands of Raleigh Police Department. And I'm tired of it. I'm fed up with it. I'm tired. It's time for something to be done. Or for some people to step to the side. And let's start the drawing board over.
Is there something that people should know if they get pulled over? Is there something that can be learned from this?
My thing is, if you get pulled over, what I tell everyone is record. Record. Do not rely on somebody's body camera footage to tell the story. If somebody's in your vehicle, get them to record. Record. The tape is not going to lie. The recording's not going to lie. That's all the transparency we need.
Can you tell us more about what happened before the recording started?
Right now, at this moment, we're not at liberty to kind of discuss that, what happened before the recording started.
When you look at this young man's injuries, what do you think this sends? What kind of message do you think this sends to our community?
Man, it sends a ton of messages at once. Comply or you will be beaten. Comply immediately to my threatened demands or you will be beaten. You will be beaten regardless if you comply or not. For me, when incidents like this take place, it's nothing more in my book than a modern day lynching. For all to see what is going on, what will happen. Look at the climate around the country when it comes to police brutality. Look at his face. He was unconscious because he allegedly hit some parked cars or was under suspicion of hitting parked cars. Should it escalate it to this?